Hello there, welcome to this free teacher training session here on YouTube. My name is Matt Perlin. I'm a native speaker English teacher from the UK. At the moment I live and work in Poland. I'm working with Polish students from the age of about 14 up to right through to adult ages, and from a range of levels from beginner, really zero beginner, through to about upper intermediate at the moment. Welcome if you're watching this live, and welcome if you're watching this on YouTube after the event. It's great to see you. I'm offering free teacher training for English teachers. That includes English, ESL, EFL, ESOL, or any kind of English teaching. And tonight we're looking at how to use a newspaper article in the class. If you do have any comments or questions during the session, please feel free to type comments in the box. Or if you're watching afterwards, you can also type your comments and feedback. And you can contact me at englishbanana.com. That's my website, a resource website for teachers of English. My email is info@englishbanana.com. And tonight we're going to look at a really great text, a really good article that I found online. I've been using it with my students all week. I've maybe done about 7 or 8 different classes with the same text, doing different activities, but generally with the same material. We're going to use a PowerPoint presentation in this lesson, so let me get it ready here. Okay, we've got it there. Okay, let me just find it. So, we've got the PowerPoint here, and we're going to go through it. If you do have any questions, please type in the box, and I can address them as we go through it. So, we're looking at using a newspaper article in class. Here we can see my website is englishbanana.com. There are thousands of free pages of materials that you can download there, but we're talking about tonight finding materials, finding real, genuine material uses of English, such as newspaper articles that you can use in your lessons. The question is, why use a real text in class when you could use a course book? A lot of English teachers have to use a course book, especially those who are working in EFL, working abroad, and it's not always satisfying to use a course book. I don't use a course book in any of my lessons, for example, and I make sure that I don't have to. I always negotiate with the language school just to make sure that I don't have to, because it's much better to be able to prepare or find your own materials for these classes. Why use a real text? It's something authentic. It's something which is intended for native speakers of English. It's something, it's free, for example. We don't have to pay £20 per student for a course book. We can find free material. I found this text online on the website. It's from the mirror.co.uk, from the Mirror website, an English tabloid newspaper. Something that you're interested in and the students are interested in. So when you have the course book, maybe your students are not interested in the topics there, but here we can choose what we want to study. And for this week I chose a text that I thought would be interesting engaging for my students, and also that I liked, that I was interested in, and it had something to discuss that I wanted to discuss. So again, you're in control if you can choose the materials. Also, there's interesting language in the course book. The language can be a little bit stultified, a little bit like a museum exhibit, something very carefully worded and carefully chosen. But in the real text, you've got a lot of idioms, a lot of slang, a lot of colourful language, interesting language which maybe doesn't get into the course book. Of course, you have to help students and explain it, but that's part of the teaching, really. Also, it's something relevant to them. You know, I chose a text about weddings, about a young couple who got married, and my students, a lot of them are sort of late teenagers, and they're close to the age of the people in the text, and it's something that they're thinking about doing in the future, in the not too distant future. So getting married, having a wedding reception, well, something relevant for them. Also, when you use the real text, it can be something fresh, something which is recent. It's not 10 years old, for example. In one of the language schools where I work, the students are taught from a course book, you know, professionally written, published course book from a big publisher. But this book was first published in 2004, so 10 years ago, and now it's still being printed. It's on the, I think, 9th impression. But the material is very dated. You know, the cultural references are things which happened around about 2002, between 2000 and 2002. And some of the material is very old. I'll give you an example of the references. Things like the Godfather film. You know, this is 40 years old, isn't it? Scream film, Shrek. We've got song lyrics by Queen from the 70s, 1970s. Backstreet Boys, Will Smith, Men in Black. Really old reference points. You know, if my students were really into One Direction, I would be able to make a lesson for them about One Direction or the next big band. You know, but if the course book writers are now writing about One Direction, by the time the book comes out in 2 years' time, then they will be probably finished, or they'll be absolutely old compared to the latest group. We've got references to programs like Big Brother, Pop Idol, that were on our TV screens years ago, more than 10 years ago. Cultural phenomena like texting, text messaging, text speak, the free play wind-up radio, Friends Reunited, .co.uk. So this is before Facebook. Yeah, these books are sold at a premium price, at a high price, and they look absolutely new and up to date. But they're old, and the reference material, the cultural references are old. So let's use the real text in class, and instead of a course book or worksheets, we can choose the text, and we can get on with our job, finding something interesting and relevant for our students. Okay, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the coursebook method. This is a method of teaching English where the teacher and the students are in charge of the material. So we get rid of the course book and we're using mainly the resources of the students. We get them to do all the work, and in your other coursebook method there are 3 modes. There's mode 1, where the students write the text on the board and we work with their text. Mode 2, when we find a text. So this is a mode 2 lesson that I'm describing. And there's mode 3 as well, and input lessons. And all of this is described in more detail in my books, which you can find at englishbanana.com. And they're free books. You don't have to pay to download them. So if you're interested in this, you can go along there, have a look at it. Okay, let's keep going. So the text is from a newspaper, national paper, Mirror, the Mirror, and their website is mirror.co.uk, and the text is headlined, "Bristol couple celebrate wedding with £150 fast food feast for 33 guests at McDonald's." Now, whenever I'm surfing online, I'm looking at different newspapers, news sources, and if I find an interesting text, I save it as a bookmark, or I save it to the desktop and keep it in a special folder. So when I'm looking for an interesting Mode 2 lesson, I go to this collection of links, and I can always find something that I want to do, not what's in the book from 10 years ago. And I did the same with this article, and I was looking for something to teach this week, and it jumped out at me. And it's a really fun story about a young couple from Bristol who decided to have their wedding reception at McDonald's. And straight away, we have a situation where you are polarized. You either agree with it, you think it's a good idea, or it's a bad idea. It's really not a good idea. So maybe more people would think that, and a few people can be in the middle. So this is a good story, a good newspaper article to discuss, because there's a real feeling of for and against. Of course, there are some benefits to having your reception at McDonald's. Think of the money you would save and spend it on something else. Spend it on a nice honeymoon or something different. Or a lot of people think it's not a good idea. A lot of my students thought that it wasn't a good idea. So it was really good, made a good talking point. We can't show the text here for copyright reasons, but there is a link here. If you go to mirror.co.uk and type in Bristol McDonald's wedding, you'll find it. So you can use this article if you want. I used it with my classes. I didn't publish it online. I didn't publish it in a book or anywhere else, but I just used it in the privacy of our classroom. And it's a really good article that you could use as well. So we're going to be discussing it. Anyway, you might want to go there now and have it open as a tab in your browser as we are talking. Okay. So why is it a great text? Half the battle, really, or more than half the battle, 3/4, 80%, is for the teacher is finding the right text. So it has to be the right level for your students, or you can change it and simplify it, which I did in this case. So that's not so much of a problem, really. But it has to be something that you think has got potential. If it's an article about the stock exchange and something very boring and ordinary that happened, maybe it's not a good idea for for a group of 10, 16-year-old students who are, absolutely bored after 8 hours of school. They've got to come for another 75 minutes of school with me. So it's got to be something that will interest them and grab them. Why is my text really good? It's a real English text. It's recent. It's up to date. It comes with multimedia. So this is a big selling point these days. If you can use a video projector in your classroom, then find a text that has a video attached. Then we can also, if you haven't got a video projector, then you can clip the audio, play the audio from the video. It brings another dimension to it. There's web pages. Different versions of this story are online in different newspapers, online newspapers. So there are lots of pictures. There are different videos. There's one from News at 10. There's one from the actual website itself, from the Mirror. So really good. Like today, I did this lesson. This afternoon, I was teaching 8 students who are office employees at a big factory, and we had this on we had this projected onto the wall behind us, so in front of them. Sorry, so they could watch this video. They could see the couple, and it really gave a sense that we were part of this story. That it came to life. They could see this. So if there's some visuals and some audio or video, that's really good. So that's another tip for choosing the text. Also, this story, as I said, it polarized people. There are many comments online about this story on YouTube, on the website, from different newspapers. And the comments are interesting because they're kind of 50-50 for and against. Some people are saying, this is a terrible idea, what a stupid idea, and worse. And other people are saying, leave them alone, it's up to them, let them do what they want, So there are comments, we can use the comments as well as real examples of written English. And these are real comments from real people. They're not from professional writers, they're not from academics, people in ivory towers, but these are comments from people, keyboard warriors who are sitting down, reading the news and think, oh, I'll express my opinion. Oh, they should do this, they should do that. We can analyze the comments, that's one lesson on its own. Look at the non-literal language, idioms, for example, slang, expressions. Look at the spelling and grammar, just of the comments. So this is a really rich lesson, just from one newspaper article online. We've got multimedia, we've got comments. The language is interesting, as we said, idioms, slang, phrasal verbs, real language that real people use. We use every day. It's not the sort of grey, monotone language that we find in the course books, where everything is absolutely graded to perfection, to the level. We see language in the tabloid newspaper, which is hyperbole, colourful language, strong expressions. We've got even alliteration and even poetic devices. So language is interesting. The text can be simplified, so we're going to look at that. I've used this text this week with students right from beginners, real low-level learners, up to about intermediate this week. Same text, but I've got 3 different versions. I've got the original, I've got an elementary version, and the beginner version. And I made the versions, but so can you. So can you. We're going to look at that in a minute. Minimal preparation. So yes, we need some preparation time for this. If you're doing mode 1, you are the course book, you don't need any preparation time. You just walk into the class and do it. But mode 2, we need probably about an hour to prepare for this. So we're going to look at that as well. What did we have to prepare? What did I prepare? Well, maybe 1 hour to prepare. But then, like I said, I've done this lesson this week about 8 times. And you know, each lesson is 2 lesson hours, so maybe 16 hours of lessons from 1 hour of preparation. Of course, different groups each time and individuals as well. And again, I can use this text again in the future. And finally, this is a unique lesson. They're not going to find this anywhere else. Nobody else is doing this lesson where I live in Poland or in anywhere in the world. It's unique. It's something which is special for them and for me. Now, you can do it as well if you want, but better find your own text and have your own process. So, what did we do to prepare for this? Let's have a look. Preparation. First, find the suitable text, and you can do this even if you're sitting having your breakfast or a cup of tea while reading online news. Something might jump out at you. Then we need to simplify the text if required. So my students would have found this original text quite demanding, and it would have taken too long. And I simplified it again for beginner groups, but they enjoyed it. They were able to do it when it had been simplified twice. So find the text, choose the target vocabulary. So in this case, I had 20 words and phrases with the target vocabulary. These are the words that I wanted them to learn from the lesson and focus on them. So, and the rest of the things we need to prepare if we're going to do them. I mean, in some of my lessons, I used a gap fill handout, so I had to prepare the handout. It had the text with 20 of the words and phrases missing, blacked out. So I had to make that. Again, it didn't take very long. Write comprehension questions. If you're going to do a quiz based on the text, think about comprehension questions, or better, get the students to write them and then swap them with each other. Make them do the work. You know, they should be learning, and don't make hours of work for yourself. Think about things in the text like verb forms that you can look at, different tenses, spelling and sounds, potential grammar points. You know, are you going to focus on articles, prepositions? Use the text. You can use it in lots of ways. I've done a recent lesson on YouTube about spelling and sounds rules. So you could look at some of the words and think about the spelling and how we can predict the sound, whether it's short or long, or what sort of sound it is. If you're using multimedia, then you might need to make a clip of the video, choose part of the video or the audio. We can do this with various tools. For audio, I would choose Audacity software. But for video, maybe you've got video editing software on your computer or your school computer. And think about comprehension questions for the video. You know, what are they wearing, for example, and then what they're talking about. Maybe you will make a transcript of the video. But don't make a lot of work for yourself. Let's make the students do the work in our lessons. They're the ones who are there to learn. Okay, so simplifying the text. How did I simplify it? So I looked at the text. It was basically a really good story, something that was polarizing between people agreeing or disagreeing. I can see the good and bad side of it, really. You know, if you have a wedding reception at McDonald's, it's really a talking point. You're never going to forget this. This is the point made by the ITN reporter. So I looked at the text and thought it was good for my students, but yes, it had to be simplified. So I had to change it. Some of the expressions and constructions. So I took away words like for whom. You know, I just deleted this kind of word. I took away most of the passive voice and replaced it with active, or just deleted it. Yeah, I made a shorter text from the original. Change difficult words for synonyms, easier words that students are likely to know. But remember, you've got 20 keywords, and you're going to teach them these words. For example, I had keywords like giant, ban, booze, shaking. So I didn't change or simplify these words. So I'd already chosen the keywords, and that's important. Paraphrasing or just remove complicated parts. If you've got a lot of proper nouns like place names and difficult names, then just delete them or change them to something else, something easier to pronounce. So it doesn't have to be exactly all the same language, because then you're just going to spend the whole lesson discussing the language and vocabulary, and there's more that I wanted to do with the text. Just edit it. I was using the elementary version right up until today, and then today I had two groups who are very low level learners, just about beginner level, just a bit better than beginner, or zero beginner. And I thought, oh, shall I do this or something else? And I thought, no, just do this, but you have to then simplify it again and really cut it down so it's a simple story. Not so that it's childish, but that it's just simple, you know, present simple, past simple tenses, present perfect maybe once, future simple maybe once, and make it really clear what the story is. And this version, the beginner version, it's probably a quarter of the length of the original. But it worked. They were able to do the tasks, the activities. They could understand the whole text. They got a sense of achievement, enjoyment from doing it. But yeah, I had to take a leap of faith in a way, and then to be able to make a beginner version. But it didn't take long. As teachers, we know which parts of the language are going to be hard for our students, and we just either take them out or tweak them, change them a bit, or completely use synonyms, easier words and tenses. Okay, so let's see what I did in the lesson. Generally, I followed the same plan this week, but there's a lot of other things that you could do as well. So we're going to look at those later on. I've told you that I'm working in Poland. I work with individuals who are adults. Also, I work for with students who are younger, maybe 16 to 18 years old, and business people, office employees in the factory. So various different people, but all of them were able to respond to this text and the methodology behind it. And it's been a really good week doing these activities. Every time it's gone well, and I thought, wow, it's just a solid, it really is a solid lesson plan. So that's why one reason I wanted to share this with you. So let's have a look at the activities that I did, that I used. So here's my lesson outline. I didn't have a warmer. You could have a warmer, and we're going to look at those a bit later on, possibilities with this text. I wanted to go straight into it, so I put the vocabulary on the board, 20 new words and phrases, and they were mixed up in order. So I've got words like ban, wedding reception, stretch limo, toasted, all interesting words that are part of the text. Students have to write them down, copy from the board, and then with a partner or with a small group of three, no more than three, they have to try to guess or imagine the story. So we've also said the words out loud, we've pronounced them, we've got the stress correct. They try to guess or imagine the story. I told them it's from a newspaper article, and I tried to elicit the correct story from them. And they had some great ideas. Several groups thought it was about a famous person getting married. Different ideas. One person guessed it straight away, said it's somebody had the wedding reception at McDonald's. So this is like a warmer, isn't it? But after the vocabulary section, we get them to think about, engage with the story without knowing what it is yet. And then I did a second phase where I had the audio of the interview on a little player, and I played it to each group, and I said, okay, listen now. This is the actual people talking about what happened to them. Try to pick out as many details as you can, and then again we had feedback, and they told me basically what is the real story. So we've got that. If you've got a video projector, then use that, and you've got a lot more information. You can see the couple. They're dressed as a bride and groom, and you've got a lot of extra information to work with. But even having audio, this helped to bring it to life in those classes which didn't have video projectors. They got to engage with the real people behind the story, so it wasn't just an abstract story. And then I gave each person, each group, a copy of the text, but the text was cut up into about 6 pieces, and all the keywords were blacked out, so they had to write in the keywords using the words that they'd just written down, and they had to put the story into order. So when you're doing this, make sure that you haven't got numbers on the keywords, because then it makes the order quite easy to do. They've really got 2 tasks here. They've got to engage with the vocabulary, put it into the context of the text, and also put the text into order. So this kept them quite busy. This lesson, by the way, was about 75 minutes, and the level was about pre-intermediate to intermediate. So we had quite a busy lesson doing this. And then once they've done it successfully, you go through it and check that it's all correct. Check they've got the answers. I asked different students to read out the text sentence by sentence. Check any mistakes, and then we go into a discussion phase, working in pairs or small groups. They discussed basically, would you be happy with this kind of wedding reception? Why not? And like I said, it's something that in a few years' time, even 2 or 3 years' time, for some of them, it's something that they might be thinking about doing and having. And they had some very clear words and thoughts about this topic. Then I asked them to write down 5 advantages of this kind of wedding reception and 5 disadvantages. So they had to engage and think about both sides of it, not just disadvantages, because most of them were quite against this story, I noticed. And the next stage was a role play. One of them was the bride, one was the groom, and they had to discuss this option. And finally, they had to write up the role play. But this was really at the end of the lesson, and they could do this for homework. So it wasn't necessary to sit down and write during the lesson, because the focus is on communication, communicative activities, working together. You know, students can write on their own and read on their own at home to their heart's content, really, but they can't work with others at home usually. So the focus is on communication, and you can see what we did in these lessons. We practiced new vocabulary, speaking and listening several times, listening for gist, listening to get the gist of the story, making notes, hearing, and finally writing, which was an activity right at the end of the lesson, and this became the homework task. So a lot of skills were practiced from this text. That's why it was good to have the multimedia input, like the listening part. Apart from bringing it to life, it gave them listening practice. So that's what I've been doing, but there's a lot more that that could be done with this text, and hopefully you can find a text that you like, that you want to work with. Of course, it doesn't have to be a newspaper article. It could be a story, could be part of a novel, a page from a book, a description of something from an encyclopedia, something that you're interested in and they are interested in as well. Let's have a look at some other possibilities. In mode 2 of your other course book, we've got really 7 stages with a warmer. So warmer just to get us warmed up. Vocabulary, text, grammar point, verb forms revision, pronunciation, free practice, and personal study. Personal study, it's homework or doing some research in the library if you've got this sort of facility. Warmer, what could we do? Discuss your dream wedding, maybe that. What would be your ideal wedding reception? Imagine your big day. Depends on who your students are and what they're interested in. Okay. Discuss your favorite food, or what do you think about fast food, or name 10 fast food restaurants. Just something to get them into this task. Discuss a time when you did something that many people disagreed with, or something that wasn't popular, but you wanted to do it. Part of the story is that this couple were quite defensive about their choice because many people were anti what they did. You know, they thought it was absolutely foolish, to put it politely. Okay, warm, or a game, some sort of game connected improvisation, something about getting married or proposing, finding a partner. Okay, vocabulary, for me the vocabulary task was to really to get 20 new words and phrases into the students' minds, to get them thinking about engaging with 20 new words and phrases. And I wanted to go on quickly from that. So we could spend longer looking at the language of the text, maybe idioms, slang, phrasal verbs, non-standard English. But really, in this case, I wanted to look at the keywords, and there are more ideas for vocabulary and all the stages in my book, Your Other Course Book Lesson Plan, which is available below at englishbanana.com, free to download. Text. What could we do with the text? Let's have a look. So I used two different methods this week. I used the gap fill and the cut up text together, and that made it a little bit harder. Today, with the beginner groups, I used reading race. So everyone worked with a partner. One person was reading a text on the board, which was about 4 meters away, and they had to remember a bit, go back to their partner, and say it, and then they wrote it down. The partner wrote it down, and it was a case of which group could do this, which pair could do this the quickest, and that was really fun. And they did it. They were able to do it. About 12 weeks ago, this group were 0 beginners and didn't really know anything about English at all. Today they were doing a reading race, so wonderful. Even though the text was simplified twice, it still was really gratifying for me to see them do it and do it successfully. You could focus on the multimedia, the audio or video aspect of it, listening comprehension, listen and answer questions, or listen and write questions and then give them to the other teams. Another thing to do with the video, watch the video silently, and somebody has to describe what's happening, or watch it silently and the teacher asks questions about the couple, about the interviewer. What do you think is happening? Even speculate about the couple. How old are they? What jobs do they have? What are their names? Maybe we haven't found out the names yet. What did they do last night? What are they going to do tomorrow? Speculate about the characters, the real characters in the video. Okay, and that could lead to an improvisation as well. So what else with the text? Look at the spelling and sounds, like we said earlier. Grammar point is the third stage in mode 2. Grammar point, you can use the text to study any grammar point that is troubling your students. So whatever they're having trouble with, if it's to do with articles, then get them to look at the nouns in the text. Do they have articles? Which ones? Why? Why is it instead of the? Why not the? Why is there no article? Which nouns are countable, uncountable? If it's a problem with prepositions, look at that. Don't spend ages on it. Even putting together text which has been cut up into many pieces, not just 6 pieces, but maybe 10 or 15 pieces, This can be a grammar activity because you're finding out, well, why does this fit with this? Why does this go together with this? Okay. But generally work on the grammar that they need to study. This is the other good point about doing this instead of the course book. When you've got to do the course book, you've got to do the grammar that it tells you to do. The course book is your master, and it's telling you, right, this week is present perfect. But maybe your students don't need present perfect that week. That's how it is in the course book. It's a fast food approach to learning. Verb forms revision, different things we can do. Again, look in my book, Your Other Course Book lesson plans for different ideas and lesson plans for each stage. One thing I did was look at all the verbs, all the regular verbs in the text, verbs ending with ed, and discuss the pronunciation rule, how we don't pronounce ed unless the verb ends with t or d. So we only pronounce ud if the verb ends with t or d. This is always useful to tell students because they always forget it. Write down questions and answers based on the text. You know, if the text is that John got married last Saturday, then they could write the question, who got married last Saturday? Or when did John get married? You know, if they can do this kind of question in different tenses, then super, really good for them. What else? Transform a sentence into other times. For example, if the original sentence is present perfect, a couple have celebrated, then your students have to write it in different tenses. You know, a couple celebrated, a couple were celebrating, a couple will celebrate. Useful to look at. You can do that with any text. Doesn't have to be this one from the Mirror website. And that goes for a lot of the course book activities. We can do them with any text, but it's always good to find an interesting, relevant, fun, rich text, and that's what we had this week. Pronunciation, let's look at sentence stress and connected speech. How often do we see that in a course book? Not very often, because it's hard to do it by remote. You need a person there, a teacher, to help students with this. Next week in my lessons, I'm going to continue with this text, not focusing on the text, but taking out some sentences from the audio or from the video and just focusing on them. Let's listen to them. Let's think about stress. Which syllables are stressed? What is the sound spine? What are the stressed vowel sounds in the sentence? Why does the interviewer talk so differently from the two interviewees? They're from Bristol. Now we can look at accents, regional accents. We can look at class. You know, England is fascinated by class. So let's look at class. Why does the interviewer speak with an RP accent? You know, what is RP? What is standard pronunciation, received pronunciation? Let's look at the couple involved. They had a wedding reception at McDonald's. Why? Why do they speak like they do? What does it say about them? They're both speaking English, but very differently. You know, the way they stumble over their words, they're using slang, they're using in it. Good solid stuff to study. We can just forget this, but it's really interesting to study. And also, we don't hear this in the course book CD. In the CD, everybody speaks fairly standard English, unless they're making it a particular point. This is real. These are real people speaking. Let's be real and use it. I'm going to do that next week with my students. Just the whole lesson, focus on pronunciation, how they speak, connected speech. We don't speak word by word. We're joining words together. Okay. Good meaty stuff. And then at the end of this, they've got free practice time. This is time when the students can respond to the text and everything they've learned, and they can sort of not mess about, but they can be a bit looser and with the language and try out things without worrying about making a mistake. So this is the role play side, for example. Do a role play. One person interviews one of the couple, or one of the couple's parents or friend, you know. Put some conflict. One person wants the wedding, one person is against it. Have a debate. You know, one side writes down 6 arguments for, another writes down 6 arguments against. Have a discussion. What does class mean in English society? Why do we still get people calling names? You know, look at the comments for this article and others. Some really nasty comments about this couple. They seem very nice. Just they chose to have, they chose to do something which wasn't really acceptable to most people. Socially acceptable. This is interesting. We can discuss this. Make a list of advantages, disadvantages. That's what I did, and that was a quite quick activity. But it focused on the text. Loads and loads of things we could do. Things to do with the comments. Let's look at the comments, analyze them, discuss them, put them into groups, which comments are for the wedding reception, which are against, and in the middle, which are neutral. Which ones are neutral? So we get to personal study, and that means the homework. I would say to mine, okay, please write up the role play. Write up your role play, or write a letter or email from one of the couple to the other, or from the parent of one to the other. Imagine there was a disaster at the wedding reception. No, there wasn't, but imagine it. What happened? Write a story about it. Write a newspaper article about it. You know, they could try to copy the form that they've been studying. Write a letter from the manager of McDonald's. Maybe something happened. Maybe there was some problem there. You know, without conflict, we can't have any drama. So maybe there was a conflict. Something happened. If everything is nice and everyone loves each other, then there isn't really a story there, is there? So different things. Write a quiz based on the text. You know, get students to write their own tests and get them to see how the test works, how these things work. So I hope that's been interesting and maybe inspiring, maybe inspired you to do to use this kind of text. Put down your course book for a moment, for 1 week, or ask your manager, is it all right? Do you mind if I don't use the officially sanctioned material? No, I turn down work now. If I have to use a course book, I won't do it, and I don't want to do it because I don't want to do it. I don't like it. and it's not good for me, it's not good for the students. You know, if I don't like it, then I can't sell it to the students like I should. And then they're bored, and we're all just there for the money. And it's soul destroying, isn't it? So let's put down the course book for a while. Let's pick up a real text, maybe a newspaper article. Also, by doing this kind of process, you are in charge, you're in absolute control of your lesson. You've got your material, you've got your activities, and everything is how you want. The grammar, it's what you want to teach. The pronunciation points are what you think are necessary. You know, you are the teacher now if you do this. With the book, you are the presenter of the book, which, okay, a lot of people are happy to do that, but it's not something that I want to do in my career or in my job, because this is much better. This is much more, much richer, more interesting. So that's about all I can say for this evening. I hope you've enjoyed watching and listening, or just listening, or just watching. That's also acceptable. That's fine. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me at info@englishbanana.com. Also, or I'm on Twitter, EnglishBanana, @EnglishBanana, and it'll be good to hear from you. I know some people are using this kind of method regularly in their schools and enjoying it. I get some good feedback about this. But this activity is quite a traditional communicative activity. Find your material and choose the activities that you want to do. And so thanks to the couple involved who gave us a great story, a great article, something really interesting to discuss in our lessons. So I'm thankful to them and to the journalists and people who brought it to our attention, because it made for a really enjoyable week, entertaining and enjoyable week of lessons here in Poland. So thanks for watching, everybody, and see you again next time. Bye for now.